All right, Clay, here we are to talk about Message in a Bottle. Hundreds of billions of bottles all washed up on the shore. You guys can check out our coverage of the police, actually, at patreon.com/the Pensky File. We talked about all 5 of their albums, and we ranked them.
I wish the line of this episode was not what the doctor says, but the doctor going, "Seems I'm not alone in leaving alone."
EMH number 2, looking for a home. Yeah.
Doctor, where did you go, and why do you all of a sudden have dreadlocks in your hair?
He just, it's that the last season of Voyager is just going to be a lot of different directions. You can feel the crew coming apart at the seams as Janeway wants to do aggressive industrial metal music, and the Doctor would rather go off and do soft adult contemporary. We're here to talk about Message in a Bottle. It is the 14th episode of the 4th season of Star Trek Voyager. It came out on the 21st of January, 1998. Teleplay goes to hardworking Lisa Klink. Story credit goes to Rick Williams. Directed by Nancy Malone, who I don't recognize at all. In-universe date is 51462. Point nothing. 2374. In this one, Message in a Bottle.
Excuse me.
7 of 9 finds an abandoned subspace relay network that has the ability to send a message, or in this case, the Doctor. It's like the Ohio U. To a Starfleet ship detected in the Alpha Quadrant. Andy Dick is in this one prominently.
Sure is.
7 of 9 does find a relay network. This does have...
Coming in hot. Energy up.
This does have a very funny moment, and I was wondering if it was the funniest Star Trek moment I've ever seen. When 7 electrocutes the Hirogen guy.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
I thought that was legitimately funny.
That was pretty good. I wish B'Elanna had been like, "You can just do that? That's an amazing weapon we have."
7's coming up with a lot. She's bringing back people from the dead. She's electrocuting and killing people from thousands of light years away, we're to assume.
Dare I say she's turning into a bit of a crutch.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It hasn't quite gotten to that point yet, but it
still
seems
feels
to be trending that way.
It feels a little natural. It feels semi-natural at this point that she can do these things, but she has great latitude and leeway from Janeway to allow her to do such things. So this is Message in a Bottle, kind of a turning point episode. They make contact with the Alpha Quadrant in a way that means something, because they did it in Eye of the Needle in season 1, but that was 25 years in the past or something, so it doesn't mean anything to them at this point. But here they make contact with the Alpha Quadrant. The Doctor gets shot through a relay network, 60,000 light years, and he ends up on a ship that's been captured by Romulans in the middle of the Dominion War, just to connect all the dots. And he saves the day, and then he comes back and he says, I talked to everybody, and everybody's very happy, and they're looking forward to seeing you, although they might be dead by the time you get back. So ups and downs.
Yes. Good news, bad news situation.
I don't know why I recapped the episode, but I did feel like I had to get across the point that they contacting home is a big deal. I guess that's a thing. We're halfway through the series at this point, and they just now have made first contact.
Almost exactly halfway, I think.
I think we are almost exactly halfway. Yeah.
Great.
So onward it goes. Some people, you're going to have some very high patron comments on this episode, Clay. So what did you think about Message in a Bottle?
I related to this episode quite a bit because I feel that I too am now really feeling the breadth of this journey that we are on. This was one that was fine for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, about halfway through, I just was just looking at my watch quite a bit.
Oh wow, interesting. What the hell was the last one we talked about? The last one you seemed almost more. I can't remember what the episode was that we did last week, but I was pretty negative on that Da Vinci episode that just posted today in real time, and you were a little bit more positive. I guess I'm not surprised that you're not crazy about this one, but I thought it was. It felt. I understand your breath, like the breadth of the situation that we're in, because it felt momentous. I'm using air quotes in the sense that like something changed here, which is kind of neat. I I'll let you finish your thought, but I think my big problem with this one is that, it's kind of a, I don't know if it's a Voyager thing or like we just haven't come across any Voyager episodes that sort of fit the description of it. I feel like this should be a bigger deal than it is. And I feel that like the episode suffers for me in that I wouldn't call it slapstick, but it's kind of like a comedy episode in a lot of ways. And it feels too serious for that to be happening. It feels too serious to have like a goofball adventure with the two EMHs who are trying to save the ship. And I also thought that it was an episode that suffered from, this should really be about the crew's desperation to get home and like this, like they found this message in a bottle system that they can get across. And you have all these subplots of like B'Elanna and Seven being like, you're a dick. Like why is this in this episode? There was some other subplot that I can't remember now. Tom becoming the doctor, and he's like, let's reprogram the EMH. And it's like, this is not the episode for this. Don't do this right now. And so I thought that all the goodwill and like the kind of interest I had in it was undone by all the various subplots, and the tone of the main plot was wrong for what I thought that they were trying to do.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with all that. I know people hate it when we do that, but this one I feel like was tonally all over the place, and they're really falling into the trap that Enterprise had, which was their cold openings not having anything to do with the rest of the show. And this did
personal bugbear.
What is the cold open in this one? This is the cold open is Chakotay and B'Elanna being like, that's Seven.
Oh, that's right.
Can't stand her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, maybe don't worry about it. She's like, and then,
be professional, damn it.
Yeah, and then she brings him into the whatever place, and she shows him the network or whatever, which is obviously that has something to do. But like I just get really frustrated when they use these scenes that, to my mind, should be thematically relevant to just do some, whatever bullshit. Because when you don't do that with the cold open, I feel like you can tell that the theme of the episode is not going to be as confident as the ones that do it.
Yeah.
And so when you start this one with B'Elanna being mad at Seven, I start thinking, okay, all right, this is going to be something about B'Elanna and Seven or in crew relationships or something. And then it turns into sending the doctor on a field trip so he can hang out with his dumb younger brother.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, well, there's, maybe I'm, again, I don't know. And this is why people watching me melt down in real time talking about the show. I don't know if I'm asking too much of this show at this point. But like the doctor being sent to this ship in order to have like this little side quest with this other doctor has no like story relevance to anything.
Yeah.
It's just fun for the sake of fun, which it's hijinks, whatever, that's fine. But like this deep into the show, I'm just grasping at straws in some of these episodes for something to care about, honestly.
Yeah.
And, and it's
I think it pairs badly with the importance of the thing that's going on.
And they send the doctor over there, and obviously I first start thinking, all right, didn't we just do this like 4 episodes ago where the doctor meets another EMH?
Oh yeah,
and
the serial killer one.
So they just kind of did that, but that's not really what this is about. There's nothing like really learned or gained by the doctor character-wise. Again, it's all just hijinks, so there's not really much to take away from it other than just this long way to go to get to the ending. And the ending is fine. I mean, the ending is sure, great. They finally went to contacted the Alpha Quadrant and it didn't get blue balled at the end of it.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff on Voyager itself I found interesting. Honestly, I kind of wish they just sent the doctor off and you didn't even get to see what he did.
Yeah.
And then And then the rest of it was just the crew getting really antsy. Yeah, because, that stuff was interesting. I when they started cutting back, I was like, all right, what the hell? What are they doing on Voyager? But then they got into the stuff where even Janeway is getting a little bit excited, and Neelix is trying to learn human food because he wants a job when
American
he gets home.
Cuisine.
American
He's
food.
getting very specific. He didn't just say Earth food. Yeah.
Too many jalapenos in that last one that he made, and Tom being frustrated that he's a pilot, but he's been drafted into this nurse doctor situation. That stuff is all really good, but they don't do enough of it. And the hijinks stuff makes me just like, my targeting computer is off. I don't know what I'm supposed to care about here.
Sure.
All that being said, the multi-vector assault mode thing was pretty good. I like that. That was fun.
That was the Easter egg they laid down early when they show you that, and then they're like, "Oh, what are we going to do? It's a 3-on-3 fight. How do we fix this?"
We're gonna talk about this brand new assault weapon that we're just never gonna come up again in the episode.
Yeah.
What's the famous thing? Chekhov's multi-vector assault mode. That's what it is, right?
It is.
And also, it's I can't remember. I can't decide if I like them name dropping the Dominion War and the Tal Shiar and all this kind of stuff, because it makes sense, because that's the period that you're in.
Yeah.
But I found the experience to be like, I'm kind of gazing through my television anytime Andy Dick is on screen, and then someone says Dominion War, and I perk up for a second, and then so I go back to kind of zoning out, and then they say Tal Shiar, and I perk up again.
Yeah, I know. That's what they're doing.
And I have to focus my eyes to make sure I'm not seeing things that the ship split into 3 ships. But yeah, it's I think I sound a lot more negative than I am. But that being said, I'm frustrated by it, and I just think it's another episode that is fine. It's if you got to kill an hour to watch television, you could do worse than this episode of Voyager.
Yeah,
put that on the poster.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just on another Star Trek podcast the other day. It's not out yet. It'll come out maybe before this episode comes out.
Without me, you son of a bitch.
Backlog. They wanted an expert opinion.
They wanted someone who could actually remember the episodes.
I told them you weren't that big on Message in a Bottle, and like I don't care to talk to him. But we watched the DS9 episode, the second episode of DS9,
nice.
And I'm not going to go into it here. You guys can listen to the podcast when it comes out. But it's startling how we should probably do a revisit of early DS9 to see like how fundamentally different the shows were at that point. It's shocking how the second episode of DS9 is like all these little scenes of the characters that don't do anything in service of what is actually the weakest part of the plot, which is like the sci-fi plot that's carrying everything. But it's just the characters getting to know each other. Odo tells Cisco that laws are laws, but justice is justice. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, no one on Voyager says anything like remotely interesting like that. And you come back to Message in a Bottle, and I think that even the character scenes that you were saying that you enjoyed, I have problems with, because I don't understand. For instance, why is B'Elanna the character to tell Seven that she's being rude? B'Elanna is set up as the rude character, so she shouldn't care. Yeah. She should bond with Seven that she doesn't give a fuck, and she just tells everybody what the hell they're thinking. That's a better thing. I don't understand why she's like, this is rude. You should... She says the thing that Amy always says to me, which is like, it's not the words you said, it's the tone that you used when you said it. And it's like, are you kidding me? Why is B'Elanna care about this? They should be friends. Yeah. They are the same. They're simpatico in this way. And that's not the case. And I just think that Voyager has like no grasp of its characters at all. It has no idea like why you would send the Doctor on this journey. Outside of the technical thing they have to do, it has no idea what Seven and B'Elanna Torres would talk to each other about in their off time. Right. The building the Doctor thing. I thought the building the secondary Doctor thing was just kind of a waste of time, because it was neither funny nor like insightful, or didn't bring anything about. Like it didn't change anything. And I didn't find the positive I can say about the Andy Dick storyline is that it could have been much worse, I think. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be when they started talking to each other. It's borderline silly. Well, it is silly. It's borderline.
Yeah.
It's silly. It's borderline not functional, I guess. Like, it works, I think, in that way. But it's not what I want to do.
2 holograms knock out an entire ship's worth of Romulan people with no problem.
Yeah, no problem. But it runs into the... How can you interrogate the Doctor? You can't scare him.
Right.
Like, there's nothing you can do to him. You can't torture him. You can't do anything.
Maybe you can grab him by his holographic balls that you don't know he has. Which is information I
pushes
did not
him
need.
down into the chair. I guess she threatens him. She's like, I'm going to decompress your subroutines and look at him. But he doesn't seem concerned about that. He's like, yeah, go ahead, do that. I don't care. Why can't you make a copy of the Doctor is another weird
Great
thing.
question. I keep thinking about this every time they do it. And the only thing I can chalk it up to that makes sense is we're early enough in the digital age that they're just taking a flyer that people don't know how data works.
Yeah, like what being digital means.
Yeah, but like this is what, 98?
It's earlier.
97?
98, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
98.
Yep.
People were on AOL.
We're getting AOL. We've got CD-ROMs coming out.
Everybody's got a computer at this time. You know, people are getting discs in the mail. When we get a copy of America Online in the mail, we don't go, "Oh my God, someone sent me the only copy of America Online."
I better send it back.
You know, so it's like this idea that they can send the Doctor off and then be worried that he won't come back because then they won't have a doctor. It's like, what? You're just manufacturing stakes that
don't make any sense.
Don't make any sense. And so it's, I don't know. And to have him like, what's the word I'm looking for? Parrot those concerns or like support those concerns. Yeah. It's like, do you know what you are and how you function?
Yeah.
If someone says, what if he doesn't come back? It should be you that says, don't worry. I'm just sending a copy. I'm not sending the hard. I'm not sending the original file here.
The EMH2 in this one, he's like, what if the Romulans find me? I wanted the Doctor to be like, who cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter if they find you. Just go around and do what you need to do.
Give them a Tylenol. Go back to bed.
Shut yourself off. Go back. And that's the, excuse me. Obviously still recovering. I think the show has really backed itself into a corner with the EMH and hologram stuff at this point. Now it's even more obvious because they're bringing multiple EMHs into the show. And as you're saying, none of them, I just don't think that they have a reasonable understanding of what they are in a way that like takes advantage of what they are. The reason you would have the Doctor in this situation is because it doesn't matter if he gets caught. It's like he can just shut himself off and go back into the computer and be like, all right, well, I failed that one. It's like a video game. You can just reset and redo it over and over again.
The thing he should be concerned about is someone blasting his program or something before he can get the information to Starfleet.
Yeah, he should be concerned about getting the information. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the way when he comes back at the end, the way that he started talking, I 100%, and the way this show usually does this stuff, when it comes to actually talking to people in the Alpha Quadrant, I 100% expected him to be like, I met a friend, I took out 6 Romulans on the ship, and I am just now realizing I forgot to tell Starfleet about us. Shit.
What do you think about the fact that you don't see the Doctor talking to Starfleet? Is that a mistake or is that the right decision? I would prefer you see him talk to a captain or something like that and just relay the news. Like, I think that works in a more serious episode.
Yeah, I think, again, they're doing that to just create the illusion of tension. Because you don't see him talk to anybody. Yeah, you don't see him talk to anybody, so when he comes back, you have no idea if he completed his mission.
Right, yeah.
Which is why I think it would be better if you didn't see him at all. Because then you have no idea what the fuck is going on with him. And I apologize to whoever's kid was listening just now. You know, in that way, the tension resides solely on the ship. and that you can really let that stuff percolate. And when he comes back and he starts, if he came back and he told that exact same story and you're going like, what? You had to do what? And then he's like, and I also deliver the message. Okay.
It is true, because him coming back and explaining what happened does come across as a joke, because Chakotay is just like, and did you do what you were supposed to do? He did do it. Yeah. So did the hijinks? Where did the hijinks of the two EMHs land for you? Did you find it semi-enjoyable, or was it just kind of a disaster?
I don't find the Doctor holographic dick measuring with another hologram. I don't find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Again, it's to what end? You know, like if there's a point, sure, but this is just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they went from the Doctor, who was a pretty capable program, to Andy Dick, who apparently they programmed to be as like a coward, I guess.
Yeah.
And just like a much worse officer.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen the there's an SNL, I've been on the rabbit hole of SNL sketches, and there was a recent one where it's the Portlandia guy. I can't remember.
Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen and Kristen Wiig are like Microsoft technicians, and they invent this like robot AI character that's played by Beck Bennett that's supposed to help you do work. It's like a productivity assistant or something. And so they're giving like a presentation to people in the audience, and they're like this AI will do calculations. It's like it'll save all the manpower. It does all of your office needs. It's this fantastic productivity in the office assistant. And then it speaks, and it's like this super campy gay robot. And so someone in the audience is like, "Why is it gay?" And they're like, "Well, what's wrong? Why wouldn't it be gay?" It's like, "Yeah, but you made a decision. Like, why did you choose? How does that help anything?" I feel like that's the thing about the EMHs is like, why do they have personalities like this? Like, why? Because I feel like you could explain that. You could do something with it. It would also sort of make the Doctor make more sense if he had a reason for being that way.
Or they're using the Dominion War as this buzzword. And when they use it as a joke, when the Doctor's like, the what? And Andy Dick is like, long story. And then they just kind of like, what if the second Doctor is like a wartime Doctor who's a lot more hardcore and by the book than the hologram Doctor is? So when he's like, I also have sex, it's like, what are you having sex for? You're a fucking hologram.
Right, he serves on a warship. This thing is apparently a warship or something. Yeah.
You're supposed to be doing like amputations and shit. Why do you have a dick now? You know, like something that gives the contrast a point.
Yeah.
Other than just like the goof of the week.
That emphasizes that Voyager's been gone too, right? If you focus on how much has changed, it's like, oh, everything's different back home.
Yeah.
They don't do it. They don't do it.
Like if he powers up the EMH and the first thing he does is grab a scalpel and like slash his throat or something. It's like, whoa.
This is wartime. This is wartime. What else to say about this one?
Or like, he's helping the one Romulan, and then the other Doctor just comes over and like, boom, shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
I know that would be a war crime, but but that's just something. Give me anything to work with here instead of just like, Doctor is kind of goofy. What if we had a goofier Doctor?
Yeah. Did you find it funny?
Not particularly.
Yeah, I didn't find it particularly funny.
I don't like Andy Dick at all.
I thought he was. I do think he was restrained here. Like he was not as crazy as he could have been.
Yeah. The one thing I thought was funny was him trying to get into the Jeffries tube. That was pretty good.
That was good. That was good.
However,
business.
I was thinking that entire time, he has to climb through the Jeffries tube while holding 3 canisters. How is he going to do that?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a bag. He doesn't have anything to put them in. Any climbing he has to do. He's just.
They don't have bags in Star Trek. It's like photos. You've never seen a bag. No one carries a bag.
That's true.
No
one has bags in Star Trek.
No. Just clanging together like when
One
you're
of those things.
Carrying like bottles of wine in a plastic bag, and they're just clanging around as you're walking down the street. Yeah, I didn't find them particularly funny. I thought it was a wasted opportunity. I really think that this moment deserves a serious script about like you have to show things that have been changed, or you have to show like even if they get into the Dominion War about like, I don't know if this lines up with the timeline, but like the things were going badly for the Federation in the Dominion War. And if you come back from this with like the seriousness of what's going on in the Alpha Quadrant, there's this extra urge to get home faster, almost like they can't do it, but it adds to this like, oh, we have to try, like there's a reason or something. But the silliness of it was just, I thought, a waste of time for something that the show claims is a very important thing that these characters want to do.
Could you imagine if everything we saw on that ship was, all the images that we saw were like security camera images, and then they rescue the ship, they download the security camera footage, and they're like, Captain Sisko, do you want to review the footage we took from the ship? And he's like, yes, we're in the middle of a very intense war. And every time you've seen me talk about it, it's been very intense. And I've possibly committed a war crime once or twice in order to benefit Starfleet. Show me that footage. And then he sees Andy Dick trying to get into a jet tube. And the other guy talking about having balls.
Holograms talking about having sex, just being chased around. Just delete this log. This is not.
Maybe is there a cut in that scene of that episode, in the Deep Space Nine episode, when he says delete last entry? Maybe he had just, in between cuts, he had watched all the footage from this.
He can only hope. All right, I guess we're done. Well, I guess give me just your thoughts about. I mean, there's the subplots, and just as an FYI, the Hirogen thing is a plot line that's going to continue for a few episodes. That little relay, the aliens that run the relay.
Oh, the guys that get zapped?
Yeah, the guy that gets zapped.
Okay, sure. Why not?
So that's the start of them. And I guess you kind of talked about, we talked about the subplot. I thought the subplots were fairly weak, just in terms of
they just don't get any time.
Anything. Yeah.
You know, yeah, they just, I think what they're getting at is really good. I think it's really interesting. But they're just not really given, there's just no sense of the urgency or the tension that they're trying to play with.
Yep.
You know, it's anytime that they do that stuff, that then they cut back to the doctor stuff, and it just breaks any tension that they've managed to build.
Yeah.
But even there, they don't really have enough time to build much tension. So
that's true. All right, let's go to Patron thoughts then. If you guys support the show at patreon.com/the Pensky File, you can leave your thoughts about upcoming episodes. You also get access to 200 plus podcasts that are on the Patreon feed right now. But the $5 and up, for the purposes here, can leave comments on upcoming episodes and we read them. It's a fresh batch, so there's only a couple comments here so far. Kyle Barrett says, message in a bottle. 7 misuses the Hirogen communication network, not caring about notifying everybody along it, so long as she achieves her goal. Kind of like Clay using the everyone tag on Discord anytime he can't figure out how to charge his iPad. Voyager's at the halfway point, and while the opening season's squandered...
Thank you to everyone who's helped me anytime I've had an issue.
Squandered its premise with its conflict-less crew integration. The show will now at least embrace the crew far from home aspect, beginning that ongoing story here while also setting up the Hirogen arc. I think it's pronounced Hirogen. I could have done without so many scenes on Voyager because I love the Doctor on the Prometheus. Well, maybe there should have been 2 versions of Picardo's EMH to compare how much he's evolved past his programming. Andy Dick, who in real life suffers from autological nominative determinism, I'm calling him a dick, is on fine form here. One of the show's best episodes, propelling the overall story forward while also being very funny and entertaining. 5 out of 5.
Woof.
Kyle needs to
Rare miss from Kyle.
charge his iPad. Metaphorically. Taxel Bear says, message in a bottle, redemption for the battle bridge. We get a ship that can split into 3. That aside, I found the EMH Mark II more annoying than interesting. Why would you give it the desire to have sex? The action was decent, but nothing special. Lastly, while contacting Starfleet only achieved so much, it feels like the overarching plot is vaguely going places. I'll send this one to you now.
That's the problem with these EMH stories. And I think it's getting to what you were talking about, them kind of losing the plot with them a bit. Because you have a conversation between these two. And the doctor from Voyager is like, yes, I can even have sex. And Andy Dick is like, what? You can have sex? I want to have sex. It's like, why? Who wrote that into his program?
I know, right. It's
again, like you said in that SNL skit, someone's making a choice here.
Yeah, someone decided that he should be this way. It's the same way the doctor is so cantankerous, but he should be pleasant. But they decided to write him as a sort of cantankerous doctor with a bad bedside manner for some reason. And
yeah, like why not write a hologram character who's like, yeah, great, who cares? I'm a hologram. I know what my purpose is. I've been built for what specific thing. Yeah. Why are you fucking around so much? You know, I don't know. It's just I'm just looking for some sort of contrast here.
They really focus on the EMHs because the EMH here talks about it. They think it's a very big deal for the EMHs to not be stuck in sickbay. That both of the EMH characters think that that's like a remarkable thing that they can. Interestingly, I think the doctor even has a line that made me raise my eyebrows where he goes like, well, I can go, with my hollow emitter, I can go anywhere. I'm basically a sentient creature at this point. It's like, no, you were sentient when you were stuck in the room. Like the ability to walk around places doesn't make you any different. It's just like, I just think it's weird that that's the thing that they focus on. It's like, I'm stuck here and I care about that for some reason. So that comes back to that point. If you're going to create a character that's not allowed to leave the room that he's in, you should make him love the room that he's in because he never wants to leave it, you know?
Right. Message in a bottle. Interestingly, with this being the 14th episode of the 4th season, this episode is the exact halfway point of the series. Besides being an important event for the Voyager crew, this is also lots of fun with the two EMHs having to be the heroes. This episode aired about 3 months before DS9's In the Pale Moonlight, so the Mark II EMH is correct that the Romulans were not involved in the Dominion War yet. I guess that the Federation was willing to overlook this incident once the Romulans joined their side.
There's a Romans typo. Man, this is DS9's 6th season that they're in. Interesting.
Damn. I am continuously, I have no bearing on when these shows were on because in my head they're a lot more chronologically split, but they just kind of overlap each other, and that might have been part of the problem, honestly.
Always been my regrets. If I could do the podcast all over, I would have done it in production order. I would just watch the shows concurrently as they aired.
Hey man, we got to do something when we get to the end of Voyager.
It's kind of a stupid thing to want because it only matters for like a year of the franchise where there was overlap, and there's not overlap the entire time. So
we'll do all 3 seasons of TOS, and then we'll take 10 years off.
Yes,
and come back and do the
true
movies.
To life. Do it true to life. Bob J. Kester says, message in a bottle. I'm a sucker for characters talking about their place in later legends, from Frodo and Sam at the end of Two Towers to Quark and Rom at the end of House of Quark. And I like how it illustrates the growing respect between the EMHs. Too bad that further appearances by EMH2, oh my God, he comes back, were yet another casualty of Andy Dick's real-life implosion.
Oh, wait. Is it? I think he's saying that he doesn't come back because in real life, Andy Dick imploded. Is that what he's saying?
Well, it says, too bad that further appearances by EMH2 were yet another casualty of Andy Dick's real life. Oh, I interpret that as he gets crazier when he comes back. Because he likes how, or maybe I'm reading into it. Okay, we'll see. Well, I guess I could look this up. Let me say here. EMH Mark II.
Dead air.
Sorry. Oh, okay. This is his final appearance, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So this is it. So I guess he was compromised. He's just going to. Well, then I'm glad. I'm glad that he didn't return. This is Artorias. I guess they mentioned that there's a Mark 3 and a Mark IV, but you never see them at some point. So,
okay.
This is Artorias with this comment about Message in a Bottle.
This has to be one of my favorite episodes from Voyager. Both doctors were great. 7 shocking the Hirogen was funny because Janeway's, Seven shocking the Hirogen was funny, especially Janeway's reaction. Gosh, I really enjoyed this episode. Guys, you got making me feel bad. Some side note thoughts. You would think that what the Romulans did might constitute an act of war, but they may have figured they could get away with it without too much repercussions because of the conflict with the Dominion, yet still seems kind of bold and blatant even for them. Also, Voyager basically hijacking an alien species communications network and all Janeway does is raise an eyebrow. Seems a little hypocritical given her past and future, quote, moral stances on things. 5 EMH team-ups out of 5. If this episode was on today in an episode of New Star Trek, the first thing everybody would be saying the next day is, when are we getting the spin-off show that's just the 2 EMHs? Yeah. And then for some reason they would make it and we would all regret being alive.
We're getting confirmation that the EMH Mark II does not return in the live stream.
Are you getting that from the booth? They just sent that down from the booth?
They just called it in. Hold on. Let's send it down to Mo. Mo. Guys, I'm here on the sidelines and I've heard that the EMH Mark II will not be returning to the series. Thank you, Mo.
This is going to be a real hit for the show going forward. We'll have to see how they managed to pull it out with just 1 EMH in the reserve.
Changeling says, Message in a Bottle, Andy Dick, what a piece of shit, an utter waste of a life form, not even worthy of stepping foot on a starship. Oops. Sorry, that was how B'Elanna feels about 7. This was a nice, light-hearted episode, but did we really need 2 side plots? 3 fat kids from the Monster Squad kicking the Doctor in the junk and exclaiming, holograms got nards, out of 5. Justice for Toon Shoe. I'll send this one to you. This is the second to last one, and then we're done. Justice for Toon Shoe says,
it's a damn shame that the contemptible Andy Dick is in this episode because I remember liking this one a lot. It helps that Voyager suddenly remembers that it's trapped in the Delta Quadrant after Gandhi headbanging parties, Shea Fook, and all the other bizarre nonsense that made them feel more like Dollar Tree TNG. In a way, it is a spiritual sequel to Eye of the Needle, one of my favorites from Voyager's early seasons. Again, too bad Andy Dick's presence ruins this for future rewatches. 4 EMH models out of 5.
A lot of hatred for Andy Dick. Jaron Hatch says...
He's a fairly... I mean, he's obviously a very troubled person.
Troubled, yeah. He's done relatively well for how disturbing of a personality he has.
Guy gets a lot of chances.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
I've heard him on shows, and he seems very... he's like a good guest on podcasts that I've heard him on. Like he doesn't seem too insane. Like, and not in like a crazy like, oh, this is like what the fuck is InfoWars guy? Jones?
Alex Jones.
I would call him Adam. That's Jaron Hatch with the final comment here. Says, Message in a Bottle. Of all the holograms out of the wild episodes this season, this is definitely the superior effort. I can't say this is some crackerjack script, but the novelty of it, in conjunction with the performances from Picardo and Dick, make it a fun watch, even if the whole thing is preposterous. Still, I can't complain too much. They finally remembered to do an episode centered around the show's central conceits of being lost, so that's got to count for something, right? I have to be honest, though, I kind of wish the Doctor ended up on DS9, as this was their one chance of doing a crossover with them. A just barely 4 out of 5. Thanks, patrons, for leaving your thoughts. I think we're at like an average of 4 there, Clay. I don't think anyone did anything below a 3, and I think it was just 1 3, a lot of 4s and 5s. What are you going to give it on our scale of 1 to 5?
I'm going to create some conflict because the episode itself doesn't have any. I'm going to give it a 2.
Oh, wow. Let's see what Mo says on the sideline. Let's take it down to Mo. Guys, it's true. I heard that Clay has given it a 2 out of 5. Back to you. Thank you. Thank you, Mo. I'm going to give it a 3, I think. It's I really thought it was I forget what the episode was that we did before this, but this is one of those episodes that comes along and it reminds me that I'm getting too crazy with the Voyager ratings, where this one comes along and I'm like, this is okay. This is a 3. Oh, but that episode I gave a 3 2 weeks ago. That was definitely a 2. Like, it recalibrates me a little bit.
Sure.
Because I don't think this one's very good, or this one's fine, but it's not. I consider this episode to be what I would expect a baseline Star Trek episode to be. They have to be better than this. Like this is this is if you're doing 26 episodes and 10 of them have to be like this is acceptable to do. But the most of them should be better. Voyager's problem is that its baseline is a 2 on my scale. And when it steps up to a 3, it feels like it's done something when I don't think it's actually done anything at all. So I'm going to give it a 3. Could have been more irritated by it. I really wish they had done something and made the talking to home feel a little bit more important than it was. I wish that the subplots featured characterization that made sense with the characters that I've been told to exist in this series.
Sounds like a great episode the way you're describing it.
But I think it's a 3 just because it held my attention in a way that some of the other ones haven't, and I don't know if that's great praise, but I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Clay gives it a 2.
Whatever happened to that other doctor they created? Did they just delete that guy?
Which one? Sorry, am I blanking on something?
The doctor that Paris and Harry created? Does he just exist now? Are we going to have some episode where we decide whether or not killing him is euthanasia or something?
They say his hollow matrix explodes or something, right? I don't know if that kills him or if he's gone forever, but he's taking up valuable hard drive space on Voyager, and the doctor needs to sit there for it. So I love weird sci-fi stuff too, where they're like just because think of what we're doing now, right? Voyager's like, oh, the distance is too far. We can't send a voice message. I know. Let's send a person who's been digitized. It's like, what are you talking about?
Someone voice message. Get that TV gun from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Just you cut the bit rate down to 64 kilobits per second, and you're gonna be fine. You'll make a phone call with them. It'll be perfect. That's it. Thanks everybody for supporting the show and listening. Patreon.com/The Pensky File. We finished Message in a Bottle. Whoa. And now we're on to the next episode of Star Trek, which I will look up while you, Clay, say what you've been doing on Patreon, et cetera, et cetera.
We've got Rotten Horror Picture Show on Patreon this year. We are covering the Halloween franchise. 12 of the 13 movies, because there is a frustrating 13 as opposed to Friday the 13th's frustrating 12.
Yeah.
So my brain is freezing because usually I say what we have just done, but we've recorded 3 of them in advance because Amanda's away. So, but we're going movie month by movie. So January is the original, February is Halloween 2, March Halloween 3, and so on and so forth. And I will get less and less interested as we go on. So,
are you already? You've done through Halloween 3 at this point?
Yes. And then we will. Is
there
a long
commonly
break.
known bad point where they're like, all right, this is where the franchise just fell apart?
Well, it's all kind of, it's the least consistent of any of the franchises because the first one is like this seminal film, and then the second one is such like a, crapped out, try to reclaim the magic kind of thing, and then they completely run the car off the road in the third one, and then they don't make another one for 5 years, I think.
Yep.
And then they bring back Michael Myers and start a whole new wave of shit, and then it's very, very inconsistent series.
Gotcha.
So I think the first 3 are the most interesting, and so as it goes on, we'll see how it goes. The masks get worse and worse as the series goes. So I'm looking forward to that. And Badass isn't back yet. Be back soon, hopefully.
And I am continuing with my music track on Patreon. We did Police, as we've mentioned at the top of the episode. That was in January. Talking Heads is in February. This episode might come out in March, so I don't really know what's going to be in March, but Talking Heads will be in February. So thanks, everybody, for listening to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Message in a Bottle will be back next week with Hunters. So see you then.